SCOTUS pauses SNAP again. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe. Let's talk about this briefly. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson put a stay on the SNAP order from the lower court, and in order for the First Circuit to rule on it quickly, which it did, and then it went back to SCOTUS, and Justice Jackson had to take it to the full court, and the full court decided that they wanted to extend the stay for another week. And, well, there are 2 points here. First of all, the Supreme Court doesn't really see people standing around in food pantries. They are so far removed from what happens to regular people on the streets that they don't see ruling on this SNAP order as being an emergency at all. That's really sad and really angering thing that the high court of this land is doing, is trivializing the pains and the burdens of the regular American people. And secondly, whatever scholarly reasoning went into Justice Jackson's stay, instead of referring it to the court right away, it didn't really get the court to do anything substantive. Instead, it just extended the stay. They extended the stay to a time when the shutdown would no longer, the shutdown would be lifted, the government would be reopened, and the SNAP question that is being presented to the Supreme Court will become moot, meaning that it has already happened. Whatever was the contested action has taken place, and so there is no case in controversy at the moment. But what the Supreme Court has done here, if that is their logical thinking, is they have left the question of whether emergency SNAP funds has to be released by the executive in cases of emergency like the shutdown. That question remains unanswered if SCOTUS rules that this issue is moot after the government opens and SNAP benefits start flowing again. And that leaves the danger of a shutdown happening again in a couple of months, and in January, and the SNAP funding, I think SNAP funding was extended until September, and I'm not entirely sure, but the issue of whether SNAP can be funded by the emergency funds in cases of government shutdown is an issue that is ripe to be answered by the Supreme Court right now. But instead of answering it, the Supreme Court goes ahead and extends the stay for a week. And I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and say later on, when the government reopens, well, we don't have to answer this question now anyway. And I think that would be a dereliction of duty. I'm going to read you a couple of excerpts from NPR and then close this episode to give you an idea of what is happening in the country as Donald Trump paused this SNAP, and as Supreme Court now has extended that stay for a week. Every single day matters for people who are on SNAP. Jim Mallard of Franklin, Pennsylvania, said he had not received anything by Monday. While some states had dispersed their SNAP funds, some states hadn't. So this disparate impact happening because of the federal government's mess, because the federal government's disbursement of SNAP benefits has caused chaos. Mallard is a full-time caretaker of his wife, who is blind and has had several strokes this year, and his teenage daughter, who suffered severe medical complications from surgery last year. That stress has only been compounded by the pause in the $350 monthly SNAP payments he previously received for himself, his wife, and daughter. He said he is down to $10 in his account and is relying on what's left in the pantry, mostly rice and ramen. And going back to the poor days of being in college and just eating ramen, a family of 3 trying to survive, getting $350 a month is not an excessive amount for the government to deliver that on time. Jim says it's been kind of a lot of late nights making sure I had everything down to the penny to make sure I was right, Mallard said. To say anxiety has been my issue for the past 2 weeks is putting it mildly. And Jim isn't the only one. He is emblematic of countless other Americans who are forced to make ends meet without having the basic food assistance that SNAP provides, $350 a month. Think about it. Another and a generous lady from Carthage, New York, Ashley Axenford, says, I figured that I've spent money on dumber stuff than trying to feed other people during a manufactured famine, said Ashley Oxenford, a teacher who set out a little food pantry in her front yard this week for vulnerable neighbors in Carthage, New York. This is happening in America while the President of the United States threw 2 Great Gatsby-style parties at Mar-a-Lago and is planning on dining with the 0.1% CEOs at the White House this week, all while regular Americans are lining up at food pantries. Doing what Donald's doing at this stage is a deliberate screw you to regular Americans, and the Supreme Court is going along with it. It is shameful, it is un-American, and it is simply wrong, inhumane, amoral for our government to deprive regular Americans of the security that they deserve, that they rely upon, because of some interpretation of the law that the executive, Donald Trump, and his regime simply will not implement when they can do so without the court's direction. The previous presidents have done so and released emergency funds when needed. But Donald Trump is not doing that despite having congressional authority through legislation to do that. Thank you for listening. Please help out people who are suffering at the moment. Please donate to food pantries, volunteer at food pantries. I'm going to leave a resources section in the description box that has a list of food pantries in various locations in the United States. It's not a comprehensive list, so if you think of other places where you can refer people to go for food bank, food pantries, and food kitchens, please leave it in the comment section and I will be sure to add it to my list. With that said, thank you so much, everybody. Please take care, and please take care of each other.